Wow. The
Right.
second
Check.
half's going to be better than the first.
Yeah, it is. Check, check. Quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul? Check. Can you hear me?
Hey, I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay, on this synthetic. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you now.
Oh. All right. How we doing on this synthetic Friday?
Doing well, doing well. Happy Friday, everyone. It is Thursday, but you know that it is a holiday tomorrow. The markets are still going to technically be open. You can still trade. I think I am locking up the charts for the week. But a happy Friday, happy Thursday. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. This is your first time here. The goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. You are all our chat, our audience. We want to thank you all for joining us. What is a day before a holiday? I know for myself, when I was in school, was a day before a spring break or some time off. I didn't want to do anything but get out of the room and get my weekend started. But thank you all for joining. We'll do a quick recap today. I do want to bring attention to it again. I posted it on X. I've said it a couple times on the show as well. But we are officially of the close today, done with 50% of the year. There's 250 trading days in 2025. At the close today, we have finished 125 of them. Just like I don't like to do with New Year's resolutions. It's not the time to say, "Oh yeah, I got 6 months to get it all right." But I think it is a decent time to review kind of how you did on the year. We're not going to do that here. We'll take a look at the weekly chart for the markets that we look at, but review how whatever plans that you had for 2025. Just take a quick look at where you are in those. What has been working really well for you this year? What maybe hasn't worked? And what maybe slight adjustments that we need to make to maybe course correct to get back on track or to stay on track for where you are with your goals. For me, I know I did not trade well at all the first half of the year. Some distracted trading, some unnecessarily aggressive trading. And my goal for the second half of the year is to get back on track and stick with process, not overcomplicate anything, and just execute. But anything you got before we get into these markets, Coach Paul?
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned just execute a trading plan.
Yep.
And it's a good time once again to review, see if you're staying on plan, and be positive. One of the things we can really get negative because of losses. I'll recognize that if while you improve, have a positive attitude. It helps allay the fears of taking risk. And when you review, you understand your edge. Guess what? You get better. When you really understand your edge, you don't deal in fear in trading. Things get a lot better. So let's get together and have a better second half than the first half.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the news. We did have some news come out this morning. Today was the big news day as well as the end of the week. We know we had some numbers that we were waiting for. So U.S. unemployment rate came in at 4.1%. Forecast was 4.3. Non-farm payrolls came in at 147,000. Forecast was 106,000. U.S. trade balance came in at negative 71.5 billion. Forecast was negative 71 billion. And initial jobless claims came in at 233,000 when the forecast was 240,000. Completely different numbers from that ADP number. I know Jack shared some information on that, where it seemed like one of these numbers is completely wrong, where for education and I believe healthcare services, ADP had it at a negative 50,000, where non-farm had it as a positive 50,000. So somebody's wrong there. Maybe a an error with the symbol, right? They turned a positive into a negative. Someone messed up somewhere, but the numbers we got today sounds like labor market's doing pretty well. And whatever it is, we got bad news yesterday, good news today. Markets still rally. Anything you got on the news, Coach?
Yeah, with that, remember, we're trading the reaction to the news, not the news.
Yep.
So, as we talk about, I find it very hard to make decisions based on what the news is, but I find it a lot easier to execute a trading plan after the news. So with that, let's get going, coach, and review.
Let's get into the charts. There are 35 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts today. To the downside, we had natural gas down 1.18%, lean hogs down 1.78%, and platinum, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, down 3.4%. Platinum is consistently in that top three recently. We know that that market is having a moment right now. Um, Pretty big moves to the upside and the downside. To the upside today, we had the Nikkei up 0.85%, the NASDAQ up 0.95%, making new all time highs, and silver up 1.07% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To round out our big four, we had crude oil down 0.68%. The S&P also making new all-time highs, up 0.77%, and we had gold down 0.47%. We already talked about the Nasdaq up 0.95. I have a Nasdaq chart up here. Let's go out to the weekly since this is technically the end of the week. We still got some trading to do tomorrow. We'll call it the end of the week. What are we looking at here, Coach Paul, on the weekly?
Oh, onward and upward. As we've been saying, there's nothing bearish in that chart. It's very bullish looking. Um, Finishing off with a small range for the week. Now, minus one trading day, but looks very friendly at all-time highs. Um, Buy the dip. That's-
Buy the dip is the mode that the market is in right now. If we take a look at the daily, obviously pretty bullish as well. Did have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 days to the upside, one pullback day, and back to making all time highs. New all time high 23,102 half on this contract here. September NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the 30-minute. So we had last night's open. We talked about this yesterday uh, during the market recap. Uh, how much price action are we really going to see in an overnight session before all of the data that we have coming out an hour before the New York session open? And that's exactly what we got. Not a whole lot to talk about in the overnight session last night. If you wanted to range trade it, great. But I was on with Dakota last night and we kind of talked about it as well. Uh, you know, we had more, conversation just about trading in general than actually placing trades because there was not a whole lot to do last night before these major numbers come out. So I think what I'm going to do, and we talked about this yesterday, the day starts with the data. 8:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Central is where those numbers came out, and we really didn't get any price action until then. So on days like this, I think that's kind of my process going forward. Wait until the data comes out, and then we get to decide from there. Uh, Here's this print. We had a 67-point range in 3 minutes. My first trade today was actually a short in the Nasdaq, where we talked about this. I'm going to let the news play out, attach VWAP to it, and then read the price action from there. There was no urgency to the upside initially right after this newsprint. We can see we pushed up higher, we rejected it. Once we rejected up here, I did take a short, risking this high and looking for 50% of the range to hold. It's a quick, just scalp trade where we get knee jerk reaction, not immediate follow through. Was I looking for this market to sell off to zero? No. 50% is going to be that target just because we see it hold so often. You can see VWAP held above it and eventually gave us a nice trend on the day. But this is to me, it's a nice way to set up a buffer on days like today where we know we're going to get a market reaction and then the volume is probably going to die out until the New York session starts. Anything you got on that so far, Coach Paul?
That's exactly. Yeah, you hit it right on exactly. The volume died out waiting for the official open, and there, look at that. We talk about a J trade a lot.
Mhm.
Now let's talk about know, confirming
Continuation. Yeah.
big volume on the buy, held that candle, continuation to the upside, tested it on low volume. So the initial reaction, we talk about this, let the news come out. If market makers are cutting back their size, why do you want to step into the void? It's not our jobs.
Yep.
But you hit it right on the head. I don't I with my personality, I can't fade that. Nice trade for you to sell it. I just couldn't do it. And that's all right. Like, I want to reiterate, you need to understand yourself in trading is probably more important than the technicals.
100%.
So going back, nice trade, holding the news candle, waiting for the open. So let's go to the open. And boy, it did not disappoint.
Not at all. Not at all. Here's the New York session open. I'm going to change this to blue. Uh, Here's the New York session open. This red box here. And go ahead, Coach Paul. I'll let you take it away.
What else is it for our regular viewers? I wish we could bring you in and you could continue this because this is what we look at all the time. We had some urgencies here. We had initial volume, large volume buying on top of the candle from the news, adding, one of the things is adding to a winner type of attitude,
Yep.
and came back and we tested the bottom. But the VWAP from the news candle, we went right to it. It's
And it left that
so
range at
right.
the perfect time on
It
that test.
absolutely did. Now let's think like a computer. That's what VWAP is.
Hmm.
Volume weighted average price. There was buying down there. That's what an algo does. One of the things everybody complains about an algo, one thing about an algo, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Computers don't think.
Nope.
They
Just
do.
execute.
Um, and I found that I saw that I saw that this morning. I did buy one, and I added to it with with the idea that I don't have much risk there. What I mean by risk, I'm willing to take that risk and add to a winner. Um, and then off to the races. Um, that was a nice 2-to-1 trade. All time highs. And the only reason I think we broke is we're heading into the close. I mean,
Yeah.
what else? The buying stopped. Well, one of the things we haven't looked like, if we get like 4 or 5 average true ranges away from the ATR, excuse me, of the VWAP. All right, from right there, I would say if you're like the fade, that's a place to start looking. But right near volume, do not fade. You're what are you fading? So
Uh,
if we can find a reason, and one of the things, because we always talk about that being close to volume, we're looking. When we're away from volume, what does that mean? Well, the biggest volume was buying early. At least recognize this if you're a new trader.
Yep. Yeah.
This is not there's not a good edge buying away from that. You're it's a dangerous place to establish. If you like to fade, you can find a place to take some calculated risk to sell it.
And excuse me, where this fade happens, we were about 5 ATRs, like Coach Paul was saying, away from VWAP. How am I measuring this? The ATR in the 3 minute was about 13 points, right? So this is about 13, 14 points here. At the highs up here, we were about 5 ATRs, a little more away. We also pushed into a major level, and we've talked about this before. Watching the market's response to majors. pushed into 23,100, which is all-time highs. And look at how far we are away from volume and the volume pattern decreasing. So we're making highs, volumes decreasing. These are weak buyers here. These are, oh man, the market's going without me. I have to buy it. And they're swimming in front of the shark. Shark is down here. He said, I've eaten enough. Let the little fish
Yeah.
go. And eventually they're going to hit a wall, right? They hit the end of the tank and they got to turn around. And the shark is there waiting for them. So all these smaller buyers here, up here, trying to catch a late move where we're so far away from where the average volume is, uh, they get eaten first and push us right back down. Shark Trends in the chat. What's going on? There's the shark. Don't trade in front of
So-
Shark Trends. Don't trade in front of the shark. Right in front of the shark, and we came right back down to volume. Um, can't compare morning volume with the rest of the day. That's exactly it, right? W- There, there are going to be points in a wave where it's not as
yeah.
strong as when it started, and if price is going to continue to go on lower
And
volume,
that's
well,
why
it's
we
going to
look at
reject it.
that opening range.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good point.
All right. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach Paul?
Well, let's look at our cousin, Rusty. A lot less volatility. It's still crawling, still playing catch up. Um, nice, actually, nice little trend. Let's look at the half hour.
It actually moved pretty well last night.
Yeah, it did. What is this? Look at that candle. Someone doesn't like our cousin, Rusty. Maybe just because it got a little ahead of itself, but gave a nice place to buy. Let's look at the 3 minute.
That news candle, we had a completely different reaction in the Russell where uh, it didn't like this at all. It didn't like the news at all, right? Completely different from what we saw in the NASDAQ, uh, where we have the range and we got some urgency to the downside, right? With this view up in the NASDAQ kind of stayed flat for a little bit. The Russell said, nope, we don't like that number. We're selling pretty early. We ranged for pretty much the rest of the day, but a this the trade that I took in the NASDAQ, which was the fade of the upper extreme of the range, the Russell rejected so early that sellers were serious about selling this, and we can see that urgency. I wouldn't buy this with this slope of view up. Okay, let's go back to the Nasdaq really quick. You see the slope of this view up here? It's kind of flat. I'll take that fade. In the Russell, completely different trade. This is angling to the downside. I'm not trying to buy this here. Um, maybe that's hindsight analysis, but you can see it in real time where, if I buy this and this view up is angling lower, it's a see profit, take profit trade. That was
Oh,
a
I
strong
wonder,
rejection.
strong rejection, but on lighter volume. What I'm just curious, is the liquidity in Rusty less because maybe it looks like a fat thumb error,
Hmm.
like or there was buying and there was no market makers. What I would do next, let's look at the 1 minute. I'm just this, yeah. It seems wow. And they couldn't hold it,
Nope.
but there's maybe that's another thing. It could be short liquidation. Like saw the number just get out. Uh, I don't know, but you hit it on the price. I hit it on the head, coach. We see something like that. I actually move on to somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely so. Or sell it, or sell it.
Nor
Uh,
sell it. Yeah.
but yeah, that was a completely different reaction there. How long left until market close? The markets are closed. You cannot trade with your Top Step accounts any longer. If you're trading a different account, maybe you can still trade. But I'm all locked up. Did have a nice off the low of that 30-minute, did have a nice little rally there if you were looking to buy it. Courtney, I saw you said in the chat you picked the wrong horse. The Russell was a little bit slow. I think if you look at all four and a lot of times what we'll see is if the NASDAQ and S&P are rallying pretty strong, the Russell is going to be consolidated. From my experience, that's kind of what I've seen. I don't know the exact correlation with that, but a lot of times we do see if the Nasdaq and S&P are having strong days, the Russell is usually pretty slow. Why don't we just take a look at the Dow really quick? The Dow kind of followed um, and went with everything else. Uh, Anything else you got on the equities, Coach Paul? Do you want to go to another market?
Yeah, let's go to gold,
Let's go to gold. All right, and
black tea.
Rack the Trader.
Excuse me, the shiny metal.
For Rack the Trader, how do you hide your balance in daily max loss limit? Go into the settings, go to privacy, and then hide balance MLO. Go to gold really quick. Completely. Wow. What a trade. What a trade. What a trade. Nice call by Dakota last night in slow markets. He was looking for a gold short and kind of just seeing on a higher time frame lower highs. We got this trend line from up here. Maybe we broke it, but I don't know. Maybe I drew the trend line wrong. Uh, but pretty heavy market still. What are we looking at here on the daily, Coach Paul?
Yeah. When well, we were talking yesterday. We had a sharp rally earlier in the week, but where are we stalling again? The 20-day moving average, and it's acting as resistance. And look how close the 20 and the 50 are. Then we see a cross. That's a that's a sign for um funds to liquidate. They might not get short, but they'll liquidate longs. Some. I mean, this isn't. There is no absolute, but we're seeing that it's losing momentum gradually. We're still under the blow off top. Um, Interesting. Now, you say Coach Dakota sold that last night. Let's look at the first half an hour. Have we seen this before?
Couple of times, just a few.
And right back to your 50%. Wow, what a trade. Now, what are we talking about? Okay, and there was buying in the first half an hour. Right, it finished higher. That's a buying candle. All right. You know what I like to do is bring that candle all the way to the right so we don't see what happens. Just so when you're developing your trade, practice this. Because your mind's immediately going to go to the result, but unless you see it bar by bar, you're apt to just go, "Oh, that's easy." No, it's not. Even if you sold this, you, so that first half an hour, that looks pretty bullish to me. We're breaking out upward. Let's go to the next. Now we put in our VWAP. We have that opening range. If you bought it, and I wouldn't blame you. I mean,
On a shorter time
what
frame, you might have bought that.
then this? Yeah, and you know what? Okay, but we talk about it. What's your risk? What are you willing, or more importantly, what can you afford to
Yep.
lose? So now, if you don't have a stop in, you just got your eyes ripped out, and it's hard to see without eyes that what's going on now. So, but what do we see here? There was big selling. We went through this yesterday. someone, some entity is dumping size. This is a pretty decent size for volume for a night. All right. Now we leave, continue to break lower, and we finally find some buying. And boy, what a range. Those aren't little moves here.
No, this is a huge move. This is from high to low here. This is about 20 points. So, you know, this is this is still a big rally, right? You could have bought it again and made a ton of money to the upside. So again, trade location matters. You could have even sold it against VWAP here and had a losing trade. This pretty big candle here. So gold is presenting a ton of opportunity. I think it's a great market to trade with micros right now because the ranges are so big. Uh, but that's a 20-point short covering move before we continued lower. But as you can see, when we came back to the opening range, uh, even then, if you sold the low of the opening range, you had to have at least a 9-point stop to be safe in this trade, the other side of the range. So position size matters. You could get the direction right and still lose on a trade if you're over leveraged. Um, but really, no buying in
Oh
this.
boy, you said position size. We don't talk about that enough, I don't think. When we talk about risk management, it's position sizing.
Yep.
As I said earlier, it's not what you're willing to take, it's what you can afford to take.
Yep.
Um, so with that in mind, a 90 or $9, that's on a big gold, it's $900. Um, or let's just call it 1,000 on a one lot. Let's understand it. But if you do micros, to do one, it's 90. Say you want to do two. Can you afford that? And if you took the 90 and you could live through that. If you did one big one, well, there goes the account.
Hmm.
So, interesting market. This market, this does not feel, it feels very heavy. I was going to say, we've been, what has it been, 2 months now since that high?
Yeah. 75 days, I believe. 75 days.
So almost a quarter
Yeah.
of the year. Um, it's getting there. Um, under we did hold the 50. I think next week's gonna be really interesting. But we're seeing these big dumps, and that wasn't off of news, unless there was some news in Asia.
There might have been some news in Asia.
Not that I know.
I don't remember any. But it's possible. Might have been. I don't recall anything though. And then of course we get the
Uh,
big news print. Same thing here. Let's go down to a shorter time frame. Let's look at a 3-minute candle on NFP. Here's the urgency, right? This is not that fade trade that I took in the NASDAQ. Look at how urgent this VWAP is. I'm not buying this. Right? The NASDAQ was flat. I'll buy it. This one, maybe get in short or not trade it at all. You can see patience allows you to kind of trade somewhere near 50% if you can get an entry there. You do not want to swim in front of the shark down here. If you're trying to trade this here, you probably missed the move. But wait for a pull up and you can maybe get in because now if you let this pull up satisfy, we reject at 50%, which is right around 33.50 major psych level. You can get a better price than the sellers down here who may try to bring price lower. We can see they didn't get any traction. Market kind of flattened out. But even then, with a market that flattened out, I could still get a 10-point trade in gold if I wait. If I try to chase, I'm the fish. Fish. Any
don't be a fish.
Do not be a
Be
fish. Do not be a fish.
or chum at least.
Any other markets you want to talk about, Coach Paul? We have crude oil.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's go through crude oil and then Canadian dollar.
All right, and then we could probably wrap. Crude oil
Crude oil.
rejected the high of yesterday's range,
Yeah.
back in the range.
But yeah, speaking of fish, kind of looking like a hook. This
A
movement
little
after
bit.
that big drop, we're above the 200 on the daily. Um, yeah, right at the 20-day moving average. Um, to me does not look too bearish to me. Mm, but a card trade. Let's look at the half hour. See the daily. It's just been wow. Well, that was yesterday. So last night, crude oil and
Very
um,
similar.
gold made that very wow. They're like tied at the hip. Um, wow. I okay. Shame on me. I missed that crude sell last night. I have to do better. First half an hour we had urgency and we had a big break.
Big break.
Right back to the range and wow. Okay. I'm gonna hand it off to you. I'm in shame that I missed that trade.
Hey, so did I, but we're
I'm gonna
working
go
on it.
sit in the corner.
I missed it as well, but we're working on it. We're working on it. We're gonna catch all of these. Because a nice 2 to 1 there, close outside the range, urgency. Let's just get going. It's a trade that we talk about all the time, chat. Hopefully, some of you caught it. Hopefully, some of you are catching some of the information that we're providing. Again, we're not giving out trade signals, but there are patterns that present themselves every day in the market. Our job is to identify imbalances. Coach Paul and I did that imbalance a little demonstration yesterday. Our job is to identify imbalance, take advantage of the imbalances. That's where opportunity lies. That's where some of the best trades are made. Uh, you're early to it, or you get to experience it. Um, when the markets get to balance, you got to try to squeeze opportunity out of them. But when they start moving, you can recognize that they're moving early. Early bird, early bird,
Early bird gets the worm
early
or the
bird.
trade.
Or the trade. Let's take a look at the currencies. Do a quick scan of these currencies. I saw somebody ask for the euro. We got Canadian dollar for you, Coach Paul. Here's the Canadian dollar on the daily, continuing to rally. We talked about this range yesterday, this range high, maybe testing the high of this opening or the opening of this candle. Exactly what we did today. Coach Paul continues to provide extremely amazing information to the futures trading community. Uh, we applaud you for your services, sir. Thank you. Uh,
Glad to help. Now let's look at the half an hour from last night.
I got 50 ticks out of the euro. Nice trade.
Nice. So didn't leave that first half an hour. All right. Which isn't surprising. Canadian dollar in the aftermarket doesn't trade that much. Important thing, how did it react to the number? All right. Big down candle and did not follow through and
None
ended up
at
near the highs
all.
of the day.
No follow
So let's
through at
go to a
all.
3 minute.
Yeah, this is we're on a 3 here.
No. So that's a 3 minute.
Yep.
Wow. Um, once you break that, we went right back up. A nice little trade. You know, they're like potato Canadian dollars like potato chips. You can do two or three, and once you start trading it, you can't stop. Um, but This market is very healthy upside, while the euro currency took a hit and really didn't recover. The Canadian and the Mexican peso, uh, south of the border cousin, looks very much like the Canadian.
Yes, it does. I want to point out something really quick
Actually, just
on this trade, especially the Canadian dollar. We can see that a ton of the markets that we trade responded to that NFP print. This trade in the Canadian dollar with this reaction to VWAP and no follow through, like Coach Paul said, the read, and we could call it the J trade, the close above the high, right? Where we would be looking to buy it here. This is an extremely aggressive trade and probably lower probability, but I would be looking to buy the low of this. We could see, we had a couple of different examples. I think it was gold that just had immediate follow through. The NASDAQ didn't have follow through to the long side, so I shorted it. This market is in an uptrend. We react very negatively to the number and then no follow through. VWAP stays flat. I'm looking to buy this and maybe add when we close up here. So this specific, yeah, take a screenshot of this. If VWAP is flat on that number, it is, in my experience, a pretty high probability fade. Anything we say here is for educational purposes only, not an investment advice, not a suggestion to take a trade.
yes,
Do it for yourself. Just take a look at it and let me know how it goes. Uh,
yeah. I know what you mean on that. On an upward, where you have that kind of selling, can you, you know, as an aggressive trade, you can lean on that.
yep,
If you want to sell it, let it break the candle at the very least. Let it close. If on the other side, let it close below that.
yep.
Not just trade. If it closes below that, and then lean on that. But the Canadian dollar is on a mission. So is the Mexican peso.
Let's take a look at the peso on the daily. Man, all of these currency markets.
Yeah, this has just been a nice ride on the upside. Buy BTD, buy the dips. Let's see if we saw one today we could buy.
Dragonfly Dan, I'm going to answer that. You don't
What's
know
that white line code?
that white line is the 200 moving average. Um, for Dragonfly Dan, I'm going to answer your question or your comment there. You don't know if it's flat in real time until it's covered 3/4 of the range to the upside. You're 100% right. But I'm going to, we'll go back to it in a second. Uh, all right. We are looking at the 200 moving average here. You want to go from the news, coach?
Yes, let's go from the news candle. Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso. This was even cleaner.
Yeah.
Um, oh my God, look at that rally. And we had a J trade.
Close above the high,
Um,
first the low.
buy the dips, Mexican peso. There's plenty of opportunity out there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
Yes, there is.
I mean, that's on a mission. Now, the background is this first 6 months has been the dollar has lost value, the most value as for 40 or 50 years. It's almost as old as I am. It's a big history. This dollar is starting a free fall. Um, so there's opportunity. I'm a trend person. From a Mexican peso, Canadian dollar, not the yen so much, but seems to me that's where opportunity is. So that was a classic trade, and man, it did not disappoint. What a move!
Yeah.
I've whoever our what our viewers pointed out the Mexican peso a few months back. Thank you
Yeah.
again. Um, It's a nice trading vehicle.
Great call there.
All right. Someone wanted, is someone wanted to see the cattle. Is this, it wasn't Coach Hoop. I think it was his cousin.
Charles Williams, cattle. Here you go. Let's look at it on a daily first, where we start everything. On a daily trending. Wow,
Ooh,
this looks amazing.
good place. This looks like it's going to turn around and go right back up. What do I say? Back to the this back to the 50. Um, look at that support. Oh, wow. Look at you and your trend lines. Just throwing it right up there like a pro. Wow. That market looks pretty good. To me, actually, let's go to the half hour, see how that. Wow.
That's a
That's that white line that we got over and never went back under. And it seems
that
to me this market's leaning the wrong way in the short term.
that is the trend line from the highs. We
Um,
had the urgency, and this setup. This is where we say we want to trade setups. Coach Paul and I have this conversation all the time. I want to trade a setup. Truly don't care. And this, to me, this is not for every trader. I think when you begin your trading journey, you should be looking to identify what you're comfortable putting risk behind in one place with one setup, right? Where you have to learn the risk management side of it. You have to learn putting on a position and trusting what you see. But eventually, I think we get to a point where I don't care what market presents the setup. I just want that setup. At least that's where I got to. You're going to talk to other traders and they're going to say, hey, you know what? It's easier for me to focus in one place. I think what we've recognized and what we do here, kind of going over a bunch of different markets, is we recognize that one of these setups is going to present itself in the 35 different markets that we can trade every day. How do we get to that market? And cattle is a perfect example of an urgency trade to the upside. Maybe you don't look at cattle every day. Maybe you have it up on a side screen and you say, hey, you know what? That looks interesting. Let me take a look there. But this is a beautiful trade where everyone else might be talking about the equities. No one's talking about cattle. There's less speculation going on in this market than in the equities. And this is a beautiful trade,
except for Coach Hoop.
except for Coach Hoop. Except for Coach Hoop.
Wow. Let's look at a 5 minute on that. What a rally today. Is this the 3 minute?
That is a 3 minute. Yeah, we're looking at a 3 minute. Here's a five. Pretty much the same.
Yeah, the 5 minutes hit. Yeah. Wow. Now, one of the things in cattle, there it just there's not much speculative retail business. What are I would say the complete opposite of NASDAQ. So when there is a move, it's usually pretty solid. It doesn't get a lot of noise. It's a commercial contract. What do I mean by buyers and sellers are meeting? It's not an iffy thing. There's not a lot of noise. So look at that breakout like the 3 minute and away we go. Can you get a 2 to 1? Absolutely. So glad we brought that up.
Great market to trade.
Did you
Great
get it?
market to trade. Did we get it? We got it. Yes, right at the high there. And turned around. 2 to 1 is a great trade on a day trade. We literally turned around right at 2. Don't be greedy, folks. Take your money and run. All right. Any other
And
markets
run.
we want to talk about?
Andrew, hey, cattle looks amazing. Cattle looks amazing until you go to the grocery store. True. Very true.
Trade the cattle futures.
We got to make money in futures to afford some steak these days.
Exactly. Trade the futures, make your money, buy a steak. That is the trade. Is the trade. All right. I got nothing else. Coach Paul, you got anything else before we go?
Yeah, that's it. Enjoy, if you're taking tomorrow off and the weekend, enjoy it. Um, enjoy life outside of trading. Um, enjoy the weekend. If you're out barbecuing and you're an American and out barbecuing, hopefully you took that cattle tray today so you could buy an extra steak. Enjoy yourself, and we will see you again one day.
Uh, who was it in the chat? Was it in the chat? Can't remember. Damn it. Supposed to remember the name. But you said you don't recognize when that VWAP is flattening out. You're right. But I think if you go with the hypothesis, right, and you put it in your mind first, if you spend some time this weekend doing like a chart review, right, spend an hour. It's a long weekend. Like Coach Paul just said, spend some time off the charts. But if you do it in replay mode, just see and kind of play it out from there. You can start to see how that VWAP is going to develop. Um, you may be preempting a trade, but you can see it develop in real time. But outside of that, let's close these charts down for the day. Coach Hoop is going to be doing his session at 1:30 Central Time in Discord. I do not believe Coach Ray and Coach Vince are running their sessions tonight. But trade well, everybody. No slow markets tonight either. Don't trade well. If you do trade well. If you don't, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some time off. Enjoy time with family, friends, by yourself. Whatever you plan to do this weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy some good food, and we will talk to everyone. I'll be back. I'll see you guys on the market kickoff for on Sunday with Anne Marie. Enjoy your weekends, Coach Paul. Thank you as always. Andrew, thank you for joining. If you haven't done so already, hit the thumbs up button on the way
Thank you.
out. Tell your friends and family to subscribe. Shout out to Topstep getting to 170K subscribers today. On the road to 1 million. And we will see you all next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Just an update for everyone. Coach Hoop is going to be canceling his class.